Welcome back to another episode of Keep 100 with Dakota and Chorsie. I'm Dakota.
And I'm Chorsie.
And congrats on joining us for our very first interview episode with one of my good friends, Jonathan Rojas. Give it up for him.
Woo woo!
You.
Thank you so much for joining us, man. We're really excited for this new route we're going, getting special guests on the show. And you're our very first special guest. How does it feel?
I feel honored. I think it's great. Like I remember when you were talking about like starting this up and the fact that you like have kept it going and putting out like more content. I'm glad that y'all have me here, man. Thank y'all.
Yeah, of course. I appreciate it. I mean, you're gonna get like millions, if not billions, of streams on this. So I hope you're ready for all the press that's coming your way now. You're like the most popular art teacher in the world.
Oof, I love that.
All the girls about to slide in your DMs. Best believe.
Do not. That's going right to his head. Do not tell him that.
He knows me.
I was like, that was the worst thing. He's like, oh, word? He's fighting for more time on this show. God damn it.
I went straight to the ego.
Oh, sweet. But how are you, man? It's been a while since we've like talked. Because I think it was back for Gab's birthday, right?
Yeah. Wow. Man, I've been good, just working. It's like this is my first year like teaching in the building, like fully like teaching.
Oh yeah.
All of this. So it's really interesting to be around all these nasty kids because they do not want to wear their masks.
Oh.
They do not follow guidelines at all. But they're kids, like that's what they're supposed to do. So it's interesting, man. It's definitely interesting. And that's pretty much like been taking up all my time.
Oh yeah, I believe that's what I was like so happy when like I reached out to you. Like, yeah, anytime after this. I was like, hey, yo, thank God. Because I was expecting like, oh, well, this day in like 2 weeks, maybe we'll figure it out. So yeah, I appreciate it. And yeah, I remember being in the building back when we reopened in March, just for those few months.
Yeah.
Like that was the nice thing of that experience, because then I went to like COVID PA for that movie, and the adults on that show wore their masks like just as often as these little fucking 7th graders. So it was perfect practice. I was like, oh, if I can yell at a middle schooler, I can yell at a grown man who should know better.
Like it was a perfect like step up.
Exactly. You know, it was like make sure they stood on the right markers, stayed 6 feet, wear their mask. It was a seamless transition from working in a middle school to work on a movie, surprisingly.
That's disappointing, unfortunately. I don't. So you're saying we don't get better as adults? We're actually worse.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
No. Oh no. All right.
Chorsie, how have you been, man?
You know, I'm doing all right. We got a lot of shit trying to get together.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's just I guess we could talk about it because it'll be released by the time this episode goes up.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, trying to get this charity event together, man, it's been taking up the majority of my time, and I'm super excited to do this. Like, I can't believe we finally have a platform that we can do what we want to do and also give back to the communities that kind of help mold and shape us. So I'm already just emotional about the fact that we've been doing it and being able to talk with some of the people from the organization that we're raising the funds for. I can't wait. I can't wait to see you in person. I can't wait to figure out, because a lot of the excitement for the event is like, I've never done this before. How the fuck do you do this? Because this is my first time ever doing an event like this, and I just want to put all my effort into it and see what can come of it. That's the only way you can kind of learn and grow with this.
Yeah, I'm so excited. That game's gonna be long as hell. But
yeah.
Rojas, I realize you're pretty much in a production meeting right now. Like, you're getting so much behind the scenes content, dude.
Yeah, I'm eating this shit up. I love it.
I'll make you sign an NDA. Don't put shit anywhere. Nope. But yeah, sweet. Let's jump into it. So I got some questions for you, Rojas, as our first illustrious guest. Tell us a little about yourself so the audience can get to know you.
All right. Well, my name is Jonathan Rojas. I'm born and raised in Paterson, New Jersey. I've been drawing since I was 5 years old. And that actually led me going to to an art school for high school, as well as studying art in college. Um, and I ended up being an art teacher at a school where I was able to meet Sir Drown. I'm really into hip hop, anime, but like my cream of the crop is the phrase, right? Like the cream of the crop or something.
Yeah,
Yeah,
top
yeah.
the best. Yeah.
Like what's the best, what's godly to me is this guy right here.
Oh, okay. I was so
What did you
worried.
think he was about to pull?
I thought you like a whole like bust or something of like J. Cole. I was like, don't.
Oh.
I was like, don't do that.
Yo,
But that makes so much sense. Yeah.
Yeah, like Spider-Man is Jesus to me. Like, so yeah, I think like that pretty much like sums it up. Like J. Cole and Spider-Man like makes up my identity.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much how I know you. So that's that's perfect. Oh man. Yeah, so let's go into that. Like, so I know you're a huge J. Cole fan. What kind of drew you to him and his music?
It's interesting. Like I first got into him when he dropped his second mixtape. I think that was like in 2009, 2010. The mixtape was called like The Warm Up.
Mm-hmm.
The reason I got into him was because one of my boys had just like started listening to him, whatever. My boy was super into hip hop, but I wasn't really listening to any kind of music. I was just playing video games, and just being a little shithead. So I wasn't really like fucking with music other than what I was hearing on the radio. Then he pulled up one day, he played me a couple of songs by J. Cole, and the one that stuck out to me was one called "Losing My Balance," which is basically about like falling in love, whatever. And around that time was when like I started to get to know this young woman who had stolen my heart. So that was the first time that I started to have those feelings. And the song captured it captured it like perfectly. And from that point on, I felt like anytime he dropped the project, somehow the messaging in the project aligned with what I felt I was experiencing at that point in my life. So I got to watch him grow as an artist, and while I was growing as a man, like myself. So that's how I really like attached myself to his music.
Awesome. Yeah, I feel like it was kind of similar to, I think, like with Chorsie, like following like the Ari albums and like little mix stuff. It's kind of because I know we've had a lot of talks about like some of these albums that kind of like hit during very specific periods in like our lives and growing. It's kind of crazy how some of our favorite artists always do that.
Hell yeah, it's nuts because like, yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, well, especially if you are lucky enough to be able to see that artist like kind of grow up with that artist, it makes you almost feel like you kind of have like that friend, that someone that understands what you go through, right? That is able to kind of communicate those issues and those struggles and being able to hear it through music, because music is truly, for me, just another form of communication. It's just like how we speak English and people use ASL. It's just another form of how we communicate with each other. And I think if you're able to see that kind of evolution in someone else as you're going through the same thing, when you're going through your puberty and going through your teenage years into becoming a young adult, that's the beauty of art, and that's the beauty of being artists, is being able to tell our stories in such unique mediums.
Oh, yeah, that's facts. That's 100% facts.
Yeah. I'm also, I don't know why it's taking me so long to put this together. I think because I always associated you as like, oh, the fellow lead work at the school, but you're like a pretty artsy dude with like, you know, video games and, you know, listen to music and anime and stuff. I don't know. That just clicked during that conversation. I was like, oh yeah, bro, I was a nice guy.
I think it's hard too, because all of the time, like even when we were outside of work, we were living in a building, like provided by work. So it was kind of like we were never really out of work.
Yeah.
So those associate. So like I get that.
So did you guys? I'm trying to plug in the gaps here. So did y'all like live in the same, like, was like a dormitory style? Like y'all were just like in the same dorm together, or how did this work?
So it was like fancy apartments. It's there's 3 buildings, like in downtown like Newark. and Dakota lived in the one around the corner from where I lived. So whenever like we were bored or just wanted to kick it, we would hit each other up and be like, yo, like come through, play video games, like drink Four Locos. Like while out.
Oh, you're the one to blame for this. Okay.
Oh no.
No, yeah, blame him.
He introduced me. No. I had my first Four Loco in my life.
Yo, that doesn't sound right
to me.
That doesn't sound right to me at all.
That sounds absolutely accurate. Dakota.
I just saw like I was like, wait, can I just somehow pin this on Rojas? This is amazing.
Nah, like he should be like a sponsor for Four Loco. Is nuts.
No, do not encourage this.
The way he talks about it, like he should be getting a bag for it.
I could sell it. 100%. That's facts. Yeah, it was just like subsidized housing through AmeriCorps. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that. Beep. We're gonna beep that part.
It's fine now. Oh
yeah, I don't know.
No, but he does.
Oh, but he's not with AmeriCorps, so.
Oh, you're not? Okay.
No, he's because that's just like the government program. He's a full teacher.
Oh, okay, cool. Then yes, you can say it.
Yeah, we're gonna keep that. Psych. So they're like kind of nice. They're nice apartments, like Jonathan said, but it was 2 bedrooms with like 3 to 4 people. So it's like living in a dorm. Yeah, and then he was my fellow lead, so it was just very nice that someone I worked so closely with was someone that I actually liked as a person and wanted to hang out with. Because when it's a bunch of people that aren't from the area move in, I mean, obviously, luckily for Jonathan, he's from Paterson, which isn't too far away. It's like what, 30, 40 minutes?
Like with no traffic, it's like 20, 25.
It's not that different to have to correct me.
Yes, it is.
It is fun to correct you.
If you cross that half an hour threshold, that's actually different.
I honestly, 25 minutes feels so much shorter than 35 minutes. I'll give you that. Whatever. So we just like hang out and I'd kick his ass in like Call of Duty and stuff.
Yeah, those are great times.
Oh, definitely good. I remember one of the nights. Oh, I think the night I first gave you a Four Loko and also Rodriguez a Four Loko. I found out that she was a mean drunk. Dude, she's like 5'2", super sweet.
You could have stopped at 5'2". You should have known there.
She gave no signs.
She was like a very quiet, very nice girl.
Don't matter.
She was a
little
mean
turkey
drunk,
teeny
bro.
They always the spicy one.
That's fair. She was just snapping at people. I was like, oh my God.
But I loved it. I ate it up because it was like we never saw that side of her before. And she was just never like, I don't know. I felt like she always looked at the person who would just kind of like stay quiet. Mm-hmm. But in that moment, all the sass that she held in just came like flooding out. It was amazing.
It was a real look behind the curtain. And that's when I realized like, oh, I gotta stop just like randomly giving these drinks out to people. I gotta be more like I gotta be smarter about who I give a Four Loko to. That's too much to handle. Yeah. Oh, where I was trying to. Oh my goodness. This is a nice thing about being edited episode is that when I have to collect my thoughts, you can just cut it out. Trying to think.
I have questions.
Go for it.
Okay. So would you describe yourself as an artist, and like what type of art do you do exactly? Like, are you a drawer, painter, graphic artist? Because just saying an artist is so much of a broad term. Like, are you performing artists, or do you focus more on visuals? Like, I'm curious, what do you produce?
So it's wild because I've really that's something that I've always struggled with, specifically when I was in like art school and college, because I never really considered myself an artist, because the way that I looked at it was I'm just drawing to relax, to de-stress, and to like I use it as like a coping mechanism for whatever I was feeling in those moments, like growing up and stuff like that. So once I get to school to train for it, ironically enough, I started to lose steam in the sense that I was learning a lot of like fundamental things when it came to like drawing. I started experimenting with painting, um, like different like mediums, like oil pastels, chalk pastels, charcoal, like all that stuff. And I don't know, it's real different when you're really passionate about something because you're passionate about it, and then to maintain that passion because somebody else tells you you have to do it. And once I started to feel that pressure, I'm just like, I kind of don't want to do this anymore. It's kind of like those moments like when you're getting in trouble as a kid, like, oh, and don't forget that you got to do your chores, whatever, blah, blah, and you already planned on doing them, and then you get that feeling like, well, I don't want to do it anymore. And like,
Yep.
Yeah.
it's kind of like that. So I was really like resistant to it for a while. And when I was in college, I'm in art school, but I didn't really know like what I wanted to do with art. And then seeing everybody around me be like super into what they're creating, and like all of the, I don't know, just all of the effort and the drive that like that they had like for their craft, I'm like, I don't feel that way at all. So I actually ended up like transferring out of the fine art program into the general arts program.
Okay.
I'm like, I feel like I'm taking up like somebody's spot who could be creating. And that's actually how I ended up like on the path to being an art teacher, because I ended up taking up a minor in education, started taking all of these classes, whatever. And in my mind, I'm like, I'm just doing this at this point because I was already 2 years in. I'm like, I need to graduate. I don't want to start from scratch. So I'm gonna just finish everything out, and then I'll figure out like what I'm gonna do. I did an AmeriCorps program after graduating, and then I did the other one, where I met like Drown. But that title, and like to answer your question, like that title is something I've been struggling with like for years. I think that now that I'm an art teacher, I'm a little more comfortable in calling myself an artist. But even then, I still don't feel like I don't feel like worthy of that title all the way.
Mm.
If that makes sense. Yeah.
No, it definitely makes sense.
That's totally fair. And I think, unfortunately, I think your story echoes a lot from what I hear from really any sort of art program in the country. It feels like for some reason, when it comes to academics in America regarding the arts, we just tend to stress out and overwork all of our young artists to the point that, like you said, that drive and that passion just isn't there. And I think we've talked about this in a previous episode, Dakota. I think some of it comes from how our instructors shape our ideology of what it's going to be like to be in that field. This constant kind of rhetoric around, you're going to work yourself to the bone essentially for very little to no money, and you should only do this just because you're passionate about it. And the finances may or may not work, and you should probably keep in mind you should probably take up a second job while you're doing this, because this is what you do while you love it. It's so exhausting, I think, how American education treats the arts. Especially hearing you talk about it clicked in my head a couple instances where I've had professors in the art department, so I took, due to a not so pleasant experience with my senior year, I had to do a half of a victory lap. And I had a couple of professors in our department that would come up to me and was like, so you actually going to graduate? Are you going to do it? And it's like, how is that encouraging? Like, we are supposed to be theater professionals and artists who are supposed to be trying to take care and support each other. Why are you making comments like this? At the time, I'm only 22, just trying to finish this degree so I can get out. And having the people who have helped mold and shape and mentor you for over 4 years at this point make comments like that. I've had a director of one of my shows literally tell me I'll never amount to anything as an actor because I couldn't get the accent that she wanted properly. Like, it's the pressures that are put in these institutions are so fucked up. And I'm sorry to hear your story, because it just keeps happening more and more. It seems like with the more artists that I meet. I do encourage you to consider yourself an artist. I think regardless of talent level of any sorts, the fact is you do create art and it means something to you. And I think that's the most important thing with what we do. I don't give a fuck about what other people think about the art I produce. I don't, because I don't do it for others. I don't do it as a way for them to feel like, oh, I can make money off of this, or, you know, I see myself in this. Really, my art is just telling my story. And the same way it should be for you. You are telling your story in the way that you see fit. And it is totally and holistically you in a way that no one can censor. And that's what makes it beautiful. And that's why it is art, because it's yours and no one can take that from you.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. That's and it like what you said about the about your victory lap. I connect to that because I had the same experience as well. So I feel that, and then to hear that, like to hear those things like from your professors or your mentors, your professors, and your directors, I think all of that shit comes from like I think like the idea of the struggling or the pained artist. A lot of older like generations of artists like really like don't let that shit go and allow their pain and their suffering, and they don't deal with it, and they kind of like just project it on younger people. Because as you were talking about that, I thought specifically to one of my art history like professors and how much of a dickhead he was. And it is nuts because once he got into his bag about talking about the things that that you could tell he was passionate about, he just looked lighter. But as soon as that conversation would end, it's like all of that weight would just come right back down, and he started calling out students and like and just being an asshole. And I don't know, like just something about hearing like your experience that like connected that like for me personally. So I appreciate you saying all of that.
Yeah, I think it kind of relates to one, basically like how like the conversation we had with both of you, like how lucky the three of us are to be able to go study the arts at the schools we did, from knowing like our backgrounds and where we come from, and just like to be able to study art in college, but also like how one, like just like you were saying, like how society like treats art, and one is how expensive college is. Because we all would have enjoyed our program so much more if one is more affordable, so we could feel that freedom versus we're all three of us like, yo, I want to get out of here. Like I think I changed my major 2 times, so I don't really fully commit to theater until like my junior year. I had to rush through the rest of the major because I was like, I can't do any more of this. So there's so much that like I lost, purely because I started a different thing because I was 18 years old. I had no idea really what I wanted to do. I was like, yeah, I'll go be an engineer because they're gonna make a lot of money. And then day 3, I saw some kid pick his nose and eat it, and I was like, I want to get out of here so bad. I can't believe I spent so much money on this. Yeah, that's a true story for all of our listeners.
Oh,
it was as soon as I saw it, I was like, wow, this is exactly what I thought it was gonna be. But yeah, I think, yeah, like we both were saying, just the attitudes of the people in academia of the not really wanting to be there, and how a lot of your college professors aren't teachers. They're just highly skilled at their craft, or maybe not even highly skilled. They're just teaching at a college.
Yeah.
Because I mean, even at where we met, Rojas, the amount of people that worked there that may not necessarily be effective teachers. But it really sucks how kind of like things we're really passionate about might get like kicked out of us almost. 'Cause it's like, I don't want to be here anymore. I'm not having fun doing the thing that I used to have so much fun doing.
yeah.
It was kind of insane that this workhorse of a nation we have. Just, I think I've been talking with Vic about this before, because I watched this like crazy ass like art documentary about like people selling like fakes and how it's a big deal. Because I was like, it made me open my eyes of like, oh yeah, this is a huge business of people just like make so much money creating art and then selling it for huge amounts. And like a part of me, like I could feel like my inherent biases looking down on it of like, oh really, you run a gallery and that's how you make money, as if I didn't go to school for theater to be an actor and a writer. If somebody look at me like, you write plays and that's how you're gonna make money, like I had that same thought, because it's not inherently like you're not serving anybody. And I came like, it opened my eyes to the biases that like our culture puts into people about art. Like everyone loves watching TV, everyone loves listening to the radio, listen to music, but they're not gonna invest that into the next generation of artists, expecting they'll come from somewhere. That's why some of the internships are like unpaid, because like it just goes for the rich kids. And why so many art schools are like private and stuff. So it really sucks. And it sucks that three of us can relate to that.
There's also this unfortunate ideology. So my mom's favorite singer is Mary J. Blige. She has always loved Mary. I think most Black women just connect with her music. But I remember when I was younger, my mom making a statement of like, she was able to connect with Mary's struggles and kind of problems that are portrayed in her music. And I feel like most of our society has this underlying belief of, if we keep artists struggling, they'll continue to produce quality product, because it is the struggle that makes it quality, which is so fucked up. We're like 2 steps away from slavery with this ideology, right? As long as we keep people upset and working minimum wage jobs and always struggling and never having health insurance, then they can create the music that we want to hear. And that is so wrong on so many levels, that we specifically just expect people just to produce and constantly give back to the world their art and their creativity, and just constantly give this over and over and over again, and give them scraps in return, because we know we'll continue to get better content because of it. It's so fucked.
No, yeah, that shit is nuts. Like with that made me think about like the artists. Like there's certain like singers and artists that'll be happy and in a relationship, and they'll be in the consistent like stable like relationship for a minute, and then they break up, and the first thing that people think about is like, oh, that next album is gonna slap. Like that next album is gonna go crazy. Like the same things. Like Adele obviously is always gonna have a great like, is always gonna make money. She's always gonna make money. But when they found out that when the masses like found out like that she was divorced and she's putting out her album, everybody was like, "Oh, I can't wait to go through this breakup with her." It's crazy, and you're right. It's a wild like mindset to have. It's almost like we forget that these are actual, yeah, they're celebrities and they're stars, but they're actual people.
Yeah, because I was definitely part of that Adele hype too. The same thing with like Kanye when they started gonna get he's gonna get divorced with Kim Kardashian. Like, yo, this album's gonna be amazing.
See, for me, it was Big Sean and Ariana Grande. I was like, when they separated, I want to hear both of them. I know the music's gonna be great on both sides. I mean, he literally released the song about her pussy at one point. Like, I gotta know. I gotta know. You know
but yeah, that like the emotional investment we expect of people, and like you said, Rojas, we just kind of forget that they're real people. Reminds me of the theater classes when, you know, oh, we need you to dive into these deep emotional like traumas at 9 a.m. Go ahead.
Yeah, just continue to drop the N-word like at 8 a.m. I'm emotionally and mentally prepared for this.
Yeah. Art schools are wild.
We laugh to keep from crying. It's fine.
I'm also realizing so much of season 2 Chorus has been like an anthem for workers' rights.
Because I mean, to be fair, that's what's happening in the world right now. I think that's our art tends to reflect. I mean, you saw my TikTok and me going off on bitches, but like our art reflects the politics of what's happening in the world. And I think a lot of the conversations that we're seeing on a day-to-day basis in the general mainstream media is about treating workers well. Because like, if you don't have workers, you really don't have a functioning society, especially with our capitalist society. Really, the issue is capitalism. What this all boils down to is because we live in a capitalist society. But truly, like, especially because, again, we want to produce great content, but I think a lot of the struggles of why artists are so fearful about the art they produce is because they can't financially survive off of it. Or that we're always told that only less than 1%, like your odds of making it, you know, as a professional singer is about the same as making it to the NFL, right? So like, I think it's that ideology and that struggle of like, I can't financially survive off of this strong skill set that I have. There's so much competition. What else can I do?
Mm-hmm.
So then it goes from focusing on my passions to focusing on survival, because that's what we're going to do as human beings. That fight or flight is going to kick in, and we have to do what it takes to make it. For some of us, that means taking some illegal measures, because really, illegal don't mean shit if you can't feed your kids. Illegal don't mean shit if you don't have insulin to survive. You're going to do what you need to do to make sure you can make it another day in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Destroy capitalism.
And it's tough because how interconnected our world is now because of internet and social media. So we can see like Americans will complain on Twitter, and some Swedish dude will be like, yo, I got like basic income and go to college for free. Y'all be easy though. And of course, Americans are going to freak out about it. So we're like, yo, the Swedes, the Finns are out here embarrassing us like this. And then the GOP is like, oh, there's nothing you can do. You deserve $8 an hour. I think that's the benefit of direct deposit. Because you imagine like these like rough and tough blue collar folks that vote red, that promote minimum wage being as low as it is. Then they go out and do like 10 hours of like lawn care, and someone hands them $8. They'd rip them apart. That's why direct deposit was made. That's my big brain thought for today.
That makes sense.
Wow, I think we all got a little sad here, so I'm gonna move on to a different topic. I also know you are kind of related to art still. I know you're a huge anime head. Oh, here goes Chorsie. I shouldn't make him laugh before he sprays all over the screen. If you're on our Patreon, you got to see Chorsie do his classic pour a pitcher of water directly into his mouth. If you're not, then it's pretty self-explanatory. You can imagine it. But yeah, man, I know you're a huge anime head. Talk to us about that. How do you it is related to you, being an artist, but I know you've talked about and before being a little salty that anime is cool now. Because you as you said, like you had the these art, like the struggling artists, and they just hold on to it. But you're kind of in that way too, of a little gatekeeping anime.
Oh, of course, I'm a salty bitch. I'm petty as fuck. All right, so basically, like for me, it's just all right. So growing up, I didn't have many friends for a variety of reasons. I'm first generation, so my parents are immigrants. My father's Venezuelan, my mother is from Peru, and they have their own set of trauma and experiences that they kind of like piggybacked over from their motherlands, from their homelands, wherever. So when they have me, they raise me in this bubble, so that I don't go through the things that they do. So that makes me a little like socially awkward because now I don't know how to talk to people. Drown, you've seen me in action. I feel like the only time where I'm like at ease with socializing is when I'm lit in some way, like shape or form. Like then I'm like, fuck it, I don't care how anybody's gonna perceive me because I am me, and that's it.
It's also helpful that you're 6 foot and handsome, have a beard and nice hair. So let's not.
Yeah, but I wasn't always
That's true.
pretty. It wasn't always me. This is fairly recent. This is fairly new. Excuse me. So what ends up happening is that I don't have a beard. I'm a kid with no beard, with no hair, but with some thick ass eyebrows. My eyebrows, like my eyebrows have always been this thick, but my head wasn't always as big. So just imagine these thick ass eyebrows on a much smaller head. And I stutter. And it was much, much worse when I was a kid. So I used to get picked on for everything, man. I used to get picked on for not really having friends, for my eyebrows, for my stutter, and for being so into anime. So I hope like the anime and the superhero shit. So I told you guys earlier that I'm really into like Spider-Man. I was gonna say Superman. My bad. Spider-Man. I'm so, like he's my like fake hero, my fake real hero. And so now being older, and seeing all of these things like sensationalized, like it's cool now to do these things, to be into this shit. And at first it's dope because on one hand, now girls are starting like want to go watch Avengers and this and that, and they'll hit me up, like the ones who know me, they'll hit me up and be like, yo, let's go watch it. because they know I'll be able to answer any questions because I know this material. When it comes to anime, same shit. But then I'll see like the people who used to pick on me when I was kids, like when we were kids on social media, like talking about, oh yeah, this character does this and this character that. And motherfucker, you just read that shit on Wikipedia. You don't know, like you don't know any of this. So like when I see that shit, like that shit gets me. I've gotten better at it now. Like now I've let it go. I'm doing my best to let it go because it's not about shit that happened like 20 years ago. It's about the fact that now these characters and these genres are getting the recognition like that they deserve. Because especially like with anime and manga, like the shit is deep. It's a lot of like adult content, adult like level content, in terms of like maturity and like the messages like that they're trying to send. Like one of the most popular animes like right now, with meaning has been like Naruto, and it's really, I feel like somebody should do like a master class on just the story alone, like the progression in the character, like development of this orphaned child who the village hates and outcasts, and he still swears to become the strongest person in the world to be able to protect them. Like I feel like so much, a lot of the evil in the world can not be explained, but like can be like unpacked through the lens of Naruto. I feel like there's a lot of like subtleties and like the evils in that show. But yeah.
Awesome.
I love anime, man.
Yeah. And also like kind of like you're saying, not only Avengers and superheroes, but anime with the kids is huge. And like kind of, and now like from what I saw like when I was teaching as well, but like now the nerds are the cool kids. It's like they're up there with like the jocks of like you gotta be really athletic or really smart, and they got a chokehold in the middle school.
Or really into anime. And it's crazy because they'll pick on the other kids, like, you don't know this, you don't know that. And I'm like, damn, I wish that was me.
Man, that's so interesting. My exposure and experience with anime is limited, I guess the best way to put it. So I did not even explore any anime until college. Had never really, I guess I'd heard the term, but didn't process that it was an accessible medium for me. Like just never really thought about it. I know there's debates about what is considered adult animation versus anime, right? Which I think it's like two different things. So like, I'm not talking about Family Guy or American Dad, but like what my first experience with it was a manga called Danganronpa. It's this weird murder high school with this talking bear.
Sounds about right.
Yeah. But it's a game like that. That's the type that I tend to be interested in. I want to see games for some reason. If you're gonna die, I want to see you like lose this spectacular puzzle game and then die. Don't know why. Probably need to see a therapist, but we'll get into that later. And then one of my previous partners, he exposed me to Naruto. We legit would set up dates and just hours upon hours of Naruto. And I never got to, is it Boruto is like the third?
Yeah.
So I never got to Boruto. I'm still, I'm telling you what, the episode that stopped me at one point, it's one of the ones that's considered a filler, but it's Naruto dancing with these goddamn frogs. And I can't do it. I just, I've tried. I have tried. I can't get over these frogs. Just, I can't. I can't. Just how to put it. Just see this man, well, young teenager, I guess, whatever, dancing with these fucking frogs. It just. And I've been stuck there for what? We dated in 2018, so 3 years.
It's hard to understand, Chorse. I mean, like you talk about the frogs represent the evils in society, and how Naruto's dancing with his future kind of thing. It's pretty highbrow.
I just want to see them fight. I want to see them kick the shit out of each other. I don't want to see.
I feel you. That's one of like the biggest like complaints with a lot of anime. And the reason like that is because so like the manga is like the comic books, right? Is the Asian like comic books that all of this shit is based off of. So the anime can only come out, or they could only like move the story along in the anime if they have the source material. So they have to wait for the manga to come out. There are certain mangas that are on different schedules. So there are some that come out every week. There are some that come out like once a month. There are some that come out like once every 3 months. So to fill in that gap, they create those filler episodes that really have nothing to do with the story. They really don't tell you shit. And a lot of the time they do some dumb shit like having a dance off with with a bunch of frogs. And that's apparently one of the biggest like complaints with with Boruto, with that anime. Because that's is Naruto Shippuden.
Yeah.
So yeah, and Boruto is one of those mangas that come out like once a month. And these intelligent people over in Japan thought it would be a good idea to start the anime at the same time that the manga is coming out. So I haven't watched the anime. All I do is read the manga. I caught up on the manga. I stopped reading for like 2 years. Like since it came out, once I realized it was once a month, I'm like, I'm just gonna wait and then read everything out and binge it. I just recently like caught up like last week. I caught up in like 3 or 4 days. There's like 63 chapters out right now. The first 2 chapters, it took them like 6 or 7 months in the anime to get through. Like literally like 80, like 90 episodes to get through the first 2 chapters.
Wow.
Because they're drawing it out to give themselves that space so that they get more source material and all of that shit. Which is a good one of the perks of watching anime is that you get to see the fights you get to see the detail, the flair, all of these special moves and beams and all of that crap. But in order to get there, you got to go through a bunch of dancing frogs.
Yeah, man, I should go back. I should go back and finish the series. It's something I want to do.
I'm only on season 2, so I get it.
You're on season 2.
No, I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, we were watching it. What happened? Well, like for the both for like the benefit of you both, there's like lists online which tell you which episodes are canon and which ones are filler. And because like filler like doesn't really like you don't need it, you can literally just skip those and you won't be missing out on anything.
I feel so conflicted. My ex said the same thing while we were dating because he sent me the link and was like, so skip this. And so we got to the frog episode while we were still dating. And he was like, just skip it. I'm like, I don't want to do that. I want to see the full. It's my first time ever seeing the series. I want the full experience as though I was watching it when like every week this episode was being released. So I'm trying to force myself to like do it justice. I want to do the anime justice, but you got fucking dancing frogs in this episode. I can't get past it. So I'm at an impasse with it.
Honestly, like the last 3 or 4 seasons of Naruto are filler. Literally, the last 3 or 4 seasons of Naruto are filler. There's literally a point where like there's one last fight and nothing after that fight is relevant or matters or even counts. And then they did like seasons on top of seasons on top of seasons. So I feel you. I feel you. But that's gonna be intense.
Golly. I think that's one reason why I stopped at season 2 was because before I was moving. I started watching it. I might lie, but I feel like I started watching in April. Chorsie, what are you doing, bro?
Keep talking. I hit a button.
You hit a button. I think I started watching it in April and I started to move, so I stopped. And I like watching it subbed versus dubbed.
Yeah.
And then I was like packing and I'm like just listening for 20 minutes. I'm like, oh wait, I don't speak Japanese. And I gotta go back. And then because it's such a long show, like even though I know I can just chip away at it, it's hard for me to commit to something with like so many episodes. Just because I'm so lazy. Like it took me so long to watch The Office after multiple people begging me to watch it. And then realized they had some like shitty seasons too. So like, what if I watch all this and I hate it, but like some episodes are good and it kind of strings me along like a toxic partner? You know, that's a good. I'm not wrong though. Like,
I love how you validated yourself.
I am my target audience. Like,
he's like, I'm not wrong.
I went to therapy just to hear myself talk, and then I was like, "Why am I paying you for this?" I'll go to the bathroom. So I know I gotta get back into it because I watched a bunch of Hunter x Hunter, and I really like that. I think that was the first anime I watched all of, besides original Pokemon. I really like it. The Chimera Ant episode arc takes so long. Like, I really like the first season. That was like, because all that character film was amazing. When the Chimera Ant like arc, I was like, yo, this is taking forever. Or when this is my one thing with anime. It's like when one fight takes like 3 or 4 episodes. And it's it's like dialogue for so long.
They Dragon Ball Z shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like just like 5 episodes of
My dad has the story of him. I guess he late night caught Dragon Ball Z, and I don't know much about it, so I'm fucking up everything I'm about to say. But whatever character with the yellow hat is going Super Saiyan.
Saiyan. Say that one more time, please.
And so I guess whenever he does his thing and he starts like getting all like lit on fire and shit, whatever, I guess like he started the fight, he started charging up, and then it went to commercial. They came back, he was still screaming. They cut to someone else. They went to commercial. They came back, he's still screaming. He's like, he spent the entire episode screaming. What is this? I'm like, I don't know, Dad. I don't watch it. I was Yu-Gi-Oh. It's probably the closest thing, which is not really close to it at all. But yeah, never got into Dragon Ball Z. I still haven't seen Hunter either, because I went like Code Geass. It's weird. I tend to be more like superhero type of anime. So like,
have you watched My Hero?
Yes. I haven't finished it.
Okay.
So see, the unfortunate thing, a lot of my exposure to anime was with my ex. So when we separated, a lot of my way to protect myself mentally was I just kind of disassociated with any sort of anime. It's like I refused to even play Pokemon for like a year. Like I deleted Pokemon Go and all that because most of that experience was through him. So yeah, like My Hero, I am very far behind. I'll say the only one that I've actually completed, because I still have. Do you have like the My Anime list? Do you know what that is?
My Anime, is that a website?
Yeah, it's a website where you can track like all of the anime that you've watched, and you can like see and share with other people like comments on different anime shows and series and all that.
And they had like the great like chat box on the bottom that was called the Chitango like chat box.
Sure, let's go with that. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's the website like that I used to use in high school.
Okay, so he exposed me to that, and like I looked through his list. It's like, Jesus fucking Christ, I'm really dating a nerd. Like, you really know. I didn't like. I knew, but I no. So I looked at this list, and then like, cause there's this one show that we watched. It was truly about this devil that just went around killing people all the goddamn time. Like, I didn't realize anime can be this gory. Like, I didn't realize the different variety of anime. I truly assumed because of my interest, it was just mostly superhero type of stuff. Nah, he wanted to see some gore shit. He wanted like borderline pornographic shit, which is a little weird towards the end of the relationship. Anyway, but yeah, like most of my experience was Code Geass. One that Dakota, I think we've watched a little bit of this together.
Kakegurui?
Yeah.
Kakegurui.
Kakegurui.
Yeah. It's like the gambling one. Have you seen that?
Yeah. Again, another high school one, but it's gambling high school students. So their like social hierarchy isn't based off of like being an athlete or like being a nerd or anything like that. It's purely your gambling abilities. And so like if you lose too much money in the school, you become like a house pet, and legit like the upperclassmen will like put a tag around your neck and you're just a house pet. And you got to do whatever the fuck they tell you to.
That's nice.
and everyone cheats at the school. It's a Netflix anime, very interesting. Not for kids, I will say that. I mean, you shouldn't listen to the show anyway, but like don't bring like your young nieces and nephews and be like, oh, let's watch this. No, don't do that.
Nah, I feel that. Yo, like real talk, like anime is really like they sexualize a lot. They overly sexualize, and and there's a lot of violence. Like I noticed with I think with Dragon Ball and Naruto specifically, there's a lot that they cut out. Like by the time that it makes it to like the US and they start playing it on Cartoon Network or even like sometimes on Adult Swim, there's a lot that they don't show. Like I know they came out with like a remastered version of Dragon Ball called Dragon Ball Z Kai. It was just like a reboot, like basically, and they took out all the blood. Like they made the blood like instead of red, but it was black. If they cut off a limb, they zoom in, and they won't do this like tastefully. They'll take the original frame and just zoom in on the frame so that the animation is pixelated. As long as you don't see it. Yeah, no, like for real. And yeah, and like, well, John, I don't know if you know the character. Well, I think you know the characters, but like Master Roshi from like Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how much I know about Naruto, but there's a character named like Jiraiya. But there's always like that old pervert. And those two are like the old perverts of those animes. But like, perverts, like it's actually really bad. Like the way that they like show them. Like there was one episode of Naruto where Naruto like he could transform. Yeah. So he'll transform into the body of a woman, and he'll call it like harem jutsu. And the point of that is to get the adults so horny that they'll let him pass. That's literally his plan. It's like I'm gonna make you
works. It works so many times.
I forgot that was a thing. That's an actual thing that I just watched and just was like, this is acceptable.
And kids watch this. That's the craziest part. It's like little ass kid, because I was a little ass kid like watching that shit, and I was like, ha ha ha, that's so funny. And the girls are obviously uncomfortable in the anime. They'll be like, "Oh my god, no, stop!" And I'm like, "Ah, that's funny." No, it's not funny. It's just crazy.
God, man.
I just realized, wow, we watched a lot of shit we shouldn't have watched.
Yeah,
because then the guy's like, "Oh, it's cartoon, it's okay," and
that's the trap.
Yeah,
that was always the trap. As soon as like my parents would see the animation, like my parents were real strict with that. But whenever they would see like animation, they'll be like, "Oh no, it's not that serious."
Well, and I think the ignorance of it is also because, like, for me growing up, if it was anything like Family Guy, American Dad, The Boondocks, that was instantly nixed because it was known because it was American content. So people were like, "Oh no, we know what's on that show. You can't watch it." But I feel like if I were as a kid, if I were to try like any of that anime, I think because there just wasn't that interest in my parents or even our community, it probably would have gone through just with no issue, which is concerning. Also, quick question. Why does changing the color of the blood make that better? I feel like I would freak out more if it's black blood.
I'm like, yo, I thought this stuff would do his human. Is he poisoned?
This bitch got venom in his blood. I don't want that.
It's like their excuse was like, oh, like black blood is alien blood. And so as long as it's not human blood or it doesn't look like human, it's real dumb. it's real dumb. But the same thing, there's a character in Dragon Ball named like Mr. Popo. And now that I'm older and like they realized it too, like it was a caricature of a black man. And they never explained if he was human or not, but like very obviously a caricature of like of a black man. And in the remaster, they changed like the color of his skin. They left all the features. Like I if I remember correctly, they gave him like big ears and big red lips. Like, and his skin originally was just straight up black. I think they made his skin green or something. And then and that was enough because now he's an alien. He's green. He's an alien. But that shit, yeah.
Wow.
He shows are nuts.
Yeah. But I also guess like to give our parents the benefit of the doubt, like a lot of times finding anime, we kind of know about it. It's like not everything was on Cartoon Network or these other sites. So like, and so much, except when we were growing up, was like the cable stuff. So people weren't really going all that the end of, the TV package going through every single episode that kids watch. And it's like, oh, it's Cartoon Network, it's fine. So it'd be harder for, I think, parents to do the due diligence to research every single show their kids watch.
Hell yeah, especially after working all day.
Oh yeah.
And like getting back home tired as hell. And my parents were immigrants, so they definitely so they didn't even understand the language or the words like that were being said. They were like, nah, fuck this. Until it was too obvious. I think family, like you brought up like Family Guy. I think it was Family Guy like that ruined it, like for me in my household, because then it got so controversial. They started talking about it on radio stations, on the news, in their workspaces. So at that point, like it had evolved so much that they were like, "Hey, do you watch this shit?" I'm like, "I watch it with you." Like, what are you talking about?
You're a part of it. You're an accomplice.
I'm remembering that I think this was in high school. It was definitely high school. I wrote a paper about trying to support legalization of weed and cited the Family Guy episode where Brian and Stewie are fighting to legalize weed in Quahog. And used it in my presentation and got an A,
bro.
Yeah.
Honestly, if you said it properly, you're good.
Holy shit. Man, holy shit. I'm proud of that.
That's a win for adult animation everywhere.
Yeah. They're gonna start referencing your paper. The kids want it. The kids need it. Oh God, where are my notes? So kind of, we mentioned this a little bit with like, we talk about the representation of like the women in these shows, and kind of like what that kind of how that can shape generation a little bit, and kind of talk about like how like some of this stuff, is definitely inappropriate. It makes, I'm trying to think how it goes. It makes me think of like how modern with like YouTube, these kids, have you guys like seen this stuff where like these people do these YouTube shows for like little kids using like toys and stuff, and then they end up being like super creepy and sexual just for like toys for like really young audiences?
No.
Yeah.
This sounds horrible, and I don't want to look this up.
Yeah, it's kind of like this, because the one, it's an issue because of like the alt-right pipeline on YouTube, where like people just keep clicking like recommend videos, and then like the Joe Rogan stuff like that gets worse and worse as the people like who are attracted to that. But yeah, they like people use like cartoon characters, like, because I remember when my oldest niece was like really young, and she'd just be like on YouTube, just like she doesn't know how to read, she's just clicking pictures. She's going on an Elsa, and then like look over and see like these adults and these like Spider-Man and like Elsa costumes doing like crazy, like disturbing, like sexual stuff that's like catered to like 5 and under kids.
Yeah. My godson, like that was a thing with him for a little bit, because my godson is my cousin. His mom is my aunt. So they got him a tablet. The only app he had installed was YouTube and something else. But like the YouTube had parental like settings on it. I think there's a YouTube Kids app specifically like just for kids. And there was some account that was, I think it was the year like that you joined, like for at the school like 2 years ago. Some account that had a huge following of kids like just started ending their videos with like, if you watch the whole video, I'm gonna call you. If you pick up, I'm gonna kill you, or like something like that. And I remember being like panicked because like the kids at the school like were telling me this, and then I recognized the name because my godson watches it. I ended up calling my aunt. I'm like, yo, take the tablet away from Daniel. And she was like, nah, I'm already on that. So apparently like that had like become like a thing. But like a lot of, like that shit is creepy. It's predatory. It's super like predatory.
And they get it because like, or they'll get families because they seem like all the other ones. Because there'll be stuff like I watch like Kemper, like it'd be like this dad playing toys with the girls, like his like daughters, whatever, or like how kids just like start talking and making shit up, and the parents just like film it, And so it looks exactly like those shows, So like a person's like, oh, it's just somebody just on an house that's obviously for kids, yada yada yada, and they do like crazy ass shit.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
Oh God, nope. Okay, if I have kids, they only using like actual official apps of like the cartoon producers. Like we only on Nick Jr. You know, we only on like Noggin. Like, bitch, you going to PBS? Like you watching Cyber Chase?
Bro, it's like a VHS household. Like no internet for you.
Hell no. Oh my God. I YouTube, do better. Like, why are you letting this happen? Like, this is literally how you make billions of dollars every year, and you let trauma just be a main product of what you do. Like, that's so fucked up.
You already said it. They make millions and billions of dollars a year. They have no incentive to fix it. These views get millions of kids watching. Like, oh, then they can just go in there. Kids don't understand what's happening. Whatever, it's fine. You know?
Yeah. Or they blame it on the parents.
Yeah, exactly.
They'll straight up say, well, this happened under your supervision.
Mm-hmm. No company like will change its business practices out of like goodwill. Yeah, it's usually like a PR stunt in some way or like heavy pressure. It's
capitalism. Like I said earlier.
We're back.
Gotta get rid of it. Gotta get rid of it.
This is season 2 vibe. There's just like the problems with capitalism. Oh man.
Jesus. Okay. My brain is blown. I need something more positive. Oh God.
I kind of want to segue again because one of the reasons we had you on the show, Jonathan, is because like so many times that you and Justin and I would have conversations with like manhood and men's mental health, especially like, you know, with happened, you know, we talked about like last year. So I want to continue with the question that Chorsie and I asked each other like way back in season 1. But what does being a man mean to you?
That's a good question. I think over the years it shifted. It's still shifting. I think that I don't have a solid like definition. I think being a man, I think that like my definition of a man today is someone who's not afraid to be accountable in whatever way. So that means for the positive, but as well as the negative. Someone who puts his best foot forward and doesn't just sit on his ass and wait for shit to happen. Because I think that's like what I need the most right now. I think like my definition of a man like revolves around what kind of man I want to be in that moment. So as of lately, I felt stagnant. So I want to be somebody who's proactive, takes initiative, you know, like all of the shit that like I never do. So that's what I tell myself like that a man is all of the shit that I want to do. In this case, is that initiative and accountability.
I like that.
It's so interesting because I think in the multiple iterations I've had of having that conversation, I don't think I've ever had someone who their first statement was accountability. Like that, like hearing you say that, like it's such an important aspect of what we do, but most people don't vocalize accountability as a part of like being a good person or like being, you know, strong and confident is typically like the way to go. But I like that. I like accountability. I really like that answer. I really like that you led with accountability. That says a lot to your character.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Like that's something that I've struggled with a lot, especially as an artist. Like receiving like critique. Like that's a form of accountability, and that shit is not easy. And then it's not easy to hear. And then, I'm not sure if y'all share this experience, but then like to take that feedback and then apply it like to your art, like that's hard too. Like for me, that has definitely been hard because it almost feels like I'm compromising or I'm making myself smaller. So it's a lot about like reframing, and it's just like, no, it's not that I'm making myself smaller or I'm taking agency away from myself. I'm being flexible and I'm being willing to bend and being willing and opening myself up to growth. because maybe I'm wrong. And I think that like men a lot of the time, and I don't mean to generalize, but like fuck it, like I think that men
Keep
like
100, bro.
facts. I think that it's really difficult for men to allow themselves to be held accountable because we're taught to do the opposite. We're taught to blaze our trails, to not let anybody stand in our way, to show strength and courage through aggression, and by like pushing people out the way. And it's like, yeah, like when somebody hears that every single day of their life for years, it makes sense why it's harder for them to think about like experiences outside of their own. And yeah, no.
Yeah, it's admittance of being wrong too. So like you're not supposed to be wrong. You're supposed to be leading a family. How are you gonna? If you're wrong, what else am I wrong about? You know, it's just kind of like convincing yourself that you can't be wrong, and then you see that like kind of that toxic mindset in some people, like they get in like crazy fights because like they just can't take that. Like I would rather beat the shit out of somebody than admit that I might have made a mistake. When you see like go way too far, which we see way too often.
Mm-hmm. You know what's wild? That's shit that kids do. And I think that me being around kids like so much is like, that's been really grounding for me, honestly, is having these conversations like with these kids. Like today, like somebody like stepped on somebody's shoes. Like somebody like stepped on Francis's shoes and Francis got tight.
Francis, bro, a little asshole, bro.
So like Francis is like one of our kids from the school. Yo, and he's been getting worse, by the way.
I remember you told me that like a couple months ago.
Yeah, he's not. I think that he's building confidence, which is a great thing, but he's projecting it in negative ways. Because
he was a punk 2 years ago, and I know it built more, because I know it's gotten worse because it was worse last year when he was a 5th grader. So now as a 7th grader, I can't.
He just talks like that's the problem. Is like he's a little punk. Like he really is a punk, but in the sense of like he doesn't want to smoke, but he'll chat, and then when it comes time to receive the smoke, he's just like, "Yo, chill, relax." Like boom, 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 and then we'll switch up the topic. He's real good at that. He got really, really good at that, and that's the problem though, because he's not gonna. He doesn't have the opportunity to be humbled. And I'm not trying to say like he needs somebody to like to step up and rock his shit. Like I'm not gonna say that kids need need to get fucked up.
This just in, 7th grade art teacher gives plea out to other kids to jump someone.
No, I just feel like he needs. I think that he needs to humble himself, or life is gonna do that for him. And I much rather him do it than life do it.
And it's better it happens when he's young and not. Yeah.
Because the stakes are so much lower. It's just little kid shit. It's just little kid shit. But it's wild. All of like the fact that like we grow up and we mature, but we really don't. And like that's and like that's the point that I was making, is the fact that like, yo, like these kids really remind me every day with their situations. Like, yo, I know people my age that are still doing the shit that y'all are doing in their own way. They're gossiping, they're talking shit, they're lying about a situation to make themselves feel better, like trying to like to pander to somebody's like sympathy. It's forgivable, like for children, but we forgive other people too. So it's weird. It's weird. It's really weird. But yeah, like manhood.
Yeah.
And like what about y'all? Like what are y'all definitions of what men are? Because John, I remember us having that. I know exactly like what conversation like that you referenced, but that was like over like a year ago. So I'm curious to see like where your mind is at. And Chorsie, like you too. Like this is the first time like that we meet. So I would love to hear your take on it as well.
Dakota, you want to go first? You want me to?
Yeah, I was also kind of like, look at the face you're making, like the weird, look kind of like a chipmunk. Should you like fist push up against your cheek? I was like, okay. You know, it's definitely like you say, like adapts all the time because here's the view of the world changes. And when we had that conversation last year, like, and even Chorsie earlier this year, I was still dealing like with a lot like personal pain of like the male role models in my life. So it's tough. I'd say now that you've put it in my head, it's like accountability, and like you said, Chorsie, like we never really thought of it that way, but that is like why we trust people that are strong and confident, because it's this, we just assume they are accountable. But there's a lot of strong and confident people that aren't accountable. Like once you get behind the scenes, it's just facade. So I have to say, someone who genuinely like is accountable and leads with respect, because I think there's a lot of people that are I think some of the male role models, or just kind of the culture of the generation our parents grew up in, and like even like modern parents, it's this idea of like respect your elders, and respect is given, not earned. And oftentimes those two sentences don't work with each other. It's like, oh yes, respect my elders, I'm going to do that, they came before me. But on that same note, respect is earned and not given. I will always like respect people as a person when I first meet them, because they haven't given me a reason not to. But then there's a lot of people that just assume that, oh, because I'm 60 or whatever, I can talk to whoever I want. And we've seen that talking to parents and like customer service stuff, and people just like talk to each other, however they want, just without any regard of like the other person is also a person. So I think someone who's like genuinely like gives respect and is accountable. I think this is a fucking hard question. That I was really hoping you weren't going to ask us.
You didn't anticipate that going into this?
No, man, we're interviewing him, bro. I did my interview in season 1. Yeah, I think I still don't have a great description of what being a man is, because I'm still in such a transitionary period of my life. I'm still recovering from the events of last year that I know I'm not fully healed from. I know I'm, moving soon to a different part of my life, like physically and like emotionally. Like I'm gonna be fucking moving to California, like, and doing other jobs. And it's that still like post AmeriCorps era. So I think it's kind of hard to know what I need. I don't think I really have any male role models at this moment of like somebody I can look to, like, oh, how did you do this? Like the only person I know who's gonna be moving to LA to start a show, he's fucking Chorsie. And I know he's in this, we're in the kind of the same boat of like, it's hard to find answers. It's like hard to like, just talk to someone who knows exactly what we're going through. And I think now, like as an adult, I don't have, before as a kid, like I could feel like, oh, I can just talk to my dad or somebody, or like a teacher or something about this. Like I don't have any teachers anymore. I think it's hard. So I think someone's just accountable for themselves and is respectful and, just leads with kindness, because there's no reason to ever start off interaction without being kind first. It doesn't make anything better to be mean. Yeah. Taurus, hope I gave you enough time to think.
Yeah. So first of all, I don't remember what I said last season. So if this is a repeat, I apologize. So as we have kind of gotten older and your ideology of how you should conduct yourself evolves, the biggest thing that I've noticed for me personally is I kind of take my definition for this based off of a lot of my friend group. And like you said, a lot of my personal male mentors. The majority of my friend group is male. And they're all men for various different reasons in my head. And I kind of take those reasons and those aspects that I see from all of them and try to instill that in myself. Because I only associate with the best. I do not associate with bottom dwellers. I don't associate with people who half-ass shit. That's not how I work, and you won't be near me if that's how you work.
The Jesse Nelsons of the world.
So for me, like Dakota said, because it's fresh in my mind, accountability is definitely important. Being able to produce confidence and safety for others is, for me, very important as a man. And I say produce because you can yourself not be confident in your abilities 100%. But if you're able to convince others and help others find confidence and find calmness in situations that are stressful, that to me is a very masculine feature and ideology. So being able to do that, being able to handle your responsibilities, and being comfortable asking for help if you need that assistance. Right? So you can't be someone who constantly is always just needing to rely on others, but you also need to be able to humble yourself enough to where if you need that assistance, you know that you can reach out to other people, or at least are actively trying to find the resources necessary to be able to reach out to someone. For me, and a lot of it isn't based off of like, you need to be strong, you need to be loud, you need to be vocal, but you do need to be respectful. Kindness, I'm a little on, only because I know the world itself can also shape how people interact in the world. And if you're born in situations of less income, of racism, homophobia, sexism, and like, it's just like that, it can shape you to maybe not necessarily be a kind person. But if you try your best every day to be respectful of the people who are in your community and your lives, that for me, I think, is where I stand in terms of what it takes to be a man. And then the last thing for me, I would say, in terms of just what it means to be a man is, I think I said this before, but that you believe that. There's no way you can be a man if you don't internally believe that you are a man. It's just no way to put it. I think that kind of connects to the confidence thing. And that's not like a slight on like people who are genderqueer or like figuring out their gender identification or anything like that. But the fact of the matter is, if you are a man, then you believe that through and through. And that's probably the most important stat, because everything else can be taught. You can learn it. You can work on that. And in fact, you should be constantly doing that, because that's what it means to be a human, right? We're not going to be perfect at all those things at every single moment of your life. You're going to be constantly learning based on your world experiences. But if you hold true to your core that you are a man, you'll be able to pick up everything else.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that reminds you of what we talked about before. I think where I relate to is like that last sentence. I remember us talking about, like, it's just, if you feel like you're a man, then bet. Because I mean, there's no real definition, because you have kids, 6, 7 years old, becoming men of the household. That kind of reminds me, like, when I was, and you going off tours reminded me, like, what I said in the conversation, like, from season 1. It was, I couldn't think of any male role models, because growing up I really didn't have any. I grew up in a house full of women. Most of my teachers were women. In high school, like, I played football, but I had 3 different coaches in 4 years, and we won 6 total games. There's really nothing to look up to there. It's just a lot of the, like, traits I've tried to, adapt to myself have come from the women in my life, with my mother and my sisters. Like, Alyssa's drive, she's a freaking personal trainer, Herbalife entrepreneur, making it work in MLM, who, that usually like Ponzi's other people, has an apartment, has a dog that's the sweetest dog you ever meet, but not the first time you meet her, because she's going to wonder who the hell you are and just going to try to attack you, just like Alyssa. Allison being incredibly kind, way too sweet for her own good. My oldest, Ashley's, I was about to like not call her name. I was like my oldest sister. Ashley's ability like to figure stuff out, and like I wish I was athletic as she was when she was a kid. My mom's ability to juggle 4 little assholes, and these pets, and then having a husband in the military. And like I love my dad, but being in the military, I wasn't able to see him as often. And then for my last year of high school, he was in California for half of it. I think the biggest things I've like seen is just like being there for other people, I think, which kind of stems into what both of you guys have said. Because there's no real answer. I think we've all had pretty different answers of what being a man is like. It's also like, billions of different men in the world, so it only makes sense.
Is it okay if I ask another question?
Absolutely.
Go for it, bro.
Funny
it'd be if you said no.
I was half expecting you to say no, actually. Do y'all think that? All right, so I had it. All right. Do y'all think that being a man is something that you grow into, or something that you learn? Yeah. Is this something that just happens as time goes on, or is it something that you have to learn?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think it's when you grow up, have an image of who you're going to be, where that's whatever male role model you saw. So, as a kid, like my dad was the only like real man in my life, even though I didn't get to see him like I wish I liked to, because he had crazy hours and I was a kid, I had my own shit. So I just wanted to be him when I grew up and trying to strive for those things. But you can't force anything, just like in life. So I think just concessions you have to make, and then realize, as I get older, like I'm totally a different dude than my dad. He joined the Air Force, went to school for theater, At 24, he had, if he was my age, he'd have had 3 kids and another on the way right now. If I had a kid right now, I'd move. Like, I think you can't really force anything. So it's, been a journey of trying to like learn who I am, and, like living this fucking conversation. I know what a man is, or what my ideal is. So it's, picking up the positive traits, like Chorsie said, you've seen other people. I think you can grow into it if that mold fits who you're going to be. It's kind of like an ugly duckling kind of thing. Your image, your role model might have been a duck, but maybe it's going to be someone else.
I think that you build the mold of the man you want to be, and then you are constantly striving to get to there. But to be honest, I'm not 100% sure if you ever really hit, like, I am just a man. I think anyone who believes that they have hit that ultimate peak of being a man is no longer working or striving towards anything in life. And at that point, as morbid as it sounds, what are you doing with your life, and why are you living? If you're not constantly working on bettering yourself, I don't see why you're around, to be honest. Which is very cutthroat, I know, but I don't know, plug my headphones. Hold on, give me a second. I would say that for me, like growing up, my ideology of what it meant to be a man was a lot based off of my father, especially because I'm a 4th generation. So like I literally am his namesake and my grandfather, my great grandfather. But what I am so blessed about is my parents instilled so much about individuality and becoming my own person that most people, when I would make the statement, would like gasp and be like, oh, why would you say that? But I never once ever aspired to be my father. The issue is, or it's not really an issue, I've never aspired to be anyone other than myself. I have role models in which I take traits from, but I've never looked at a single person, and I never will look at a single person in my life and be like, I want to be you. I don't feel that envy of wanting to have someone else's life. I don't feel that emotional connectivity of wanting to be in someone else's shoes. I see the traits and aspects that I like of what they have and work towards getting that for me. I think how I view role models is also just a little weird than what most people are used to. Because I think most people assume like, oh, role model means that's the person you want to grow up to be exactly like. Not really, because to be honest, every single person fucked up. We all got skeletons in our closet. We all got some dark shit don't nobody want to talk about, but they happen. It's a part of the human experience. So instead of ignoring and pretending like that person is just 100% perfect, I'm going to acknowledge that there is shit about them I don't know. But the things I do see, I like, and I want to instill that in myself. And as I continue to meet new people, they teach me new aspects of what it means to be human and what it means to be a man. And then I make a conscious or sometimes subconscious decision of, I like this, I'm going to adopt it, or I'm not really with this. This ain't vibing. Get the fuck out my face. And that's just how it works. Every friend that I have kind of picked up in my circle, I tend to adapt at least one of their major traits. And every time I pick up a new friend, they end up changing my ideology of what it means to be a man. Every time I have a conversation with my father, we have a deep conversation about something, an aspect of his life that I knew nothing about. That ends up changing my ideology of what it means to be a man. So for me, I would say you kind of grow into it because it should be evolving as you meet new people and you see different perspectives and presentations of what it means to be a man.
That's real.
Yeah.
I appreciate like both your answers because I feel like there's a lot in what the both of you said that I was able to connect to, and I definitely like related to. So, for example, like the idea of you, Chorsie, how you mentioned, the way that you look at role models is not people that you aspire to be, but like taking those like rather like taking the traits that you identify with or that you would want to identify with, kind of like, and adding that to your like your into your utility belt of what it means to be a man. And drown like the way like that you described like the way that you looked up like to your father, but also at the same time like not like feeling like you didn't necessarily like have a present like role model like in your childhood. I definitely like connect to that too. I like my dad isn't in the military, but he used to, I would never see him because of work. And it's nuts because so I relate to John in that sense. And then my parents always used to tell me the shit like to have the mindset that Chorsie has. So to hear like the both of you guys like say that is really dope because I feel like my experience has been like a mixture of both of your experiences. It's dope. It is dope that we are able to sit and talk about these mindsets and how it's still being formed, like acknowledge like what we have formed and acknowledge the fact that it's still in development. Because to Chorsie's point, I agree. I think that like I don't think that we ever stop growing or changing ever. So that's like for example, like New Year's like resolutions, I don't ever like to do those. Because for me it's always been, I've always had like a weird like relationship with that because it's like I don't want this to just be a goal for this year. I want this if I'm gonna set a goal, I want to set a goal for it to be like consistent. Because once you reach that like that checkpoint, and this is what like rich people say all the time, right? Like once you make it like to the top, like what's left? And I feel like what's left is the fact that like your entire world has changed, your entire mindset, your framing of everything like shifts. So to be able to adapt to that is fucking. I feel like that's the key word is adapting.
Yeah. I think it's also like really important that like we have these conversations while we're still young, because like, you know, stuff that we can reflect on and kind of like keep ourselves accountable. And you know, like, wow, I said this and recorded it, so if I act differently, I'm gonna look like a jackass. But even our private conversations, like, you know, it's healthy mentally, because how many, you know, issues with men in previous generations just don't talk about shit, just bottle it up for years and years and years and years and years, you know. And then it can often explode in like disastrous ways that'll wreck their whole lives. You know, in the worst cases. So I think it's important we have these and we can like, you know, reflect and realizing stuff about my childhood, just listening to you guys talk, you know, stuff like just opens my mindset more, just be able to hear perspective from other people. Yeah. Damn, everyone being loud in the apartment building today.
Yeah. Being a man is a constant, it's not a struggle, it's just a challenge. It's not a problem. You're just something you're constantly working at. And I think that's what makes the human experience so beautiful in general. Because to be honest, I wouldn't be interested in a young motherfuckers if you were just stagnant the entire time. That's not exciting.
Yeah.
It's not. Even if you could find like the most, like imagine like you're like, if you're trying to pursue a partner, the idea of having like the perfect partner is personally for me boring because there ain't nothing to work on. I don't want no perfect nigga that just has everything together. No, like, no, I'm not saying hit me with like all of your childhood trauma when you were 7 years old. Or your uncle,
Red flag.
No. I don't need all that. But like, it is more attractive to me to see people work than of someone who just has it all.
Yeah. Yeah, because like it's knowing that like while I'm still working myself and improving, I have a partner I can lean on, know they'll want to lean on me too. And then if you have a perfect partner, it's gonna obviously like make you feel insecure by yourself because you can't see their flaws. I think it's important to know what your partner's flaws are. And I think it's important to remind them what their flaws are. She is.
I hope she heard you.
She's gonna beat my ass, bro. Oh my God. I don't even want to look in that direction.
My heart started racing fast, and I was like, "She in this room, ain't she?"
Pray for me.
Nah, bro. This is the last episode of Keep 'Em Up.
Yeah.
Man. But yeah, I think always having to have these conversations with my friends because I think, you know, because when you're hanging with friends, everything's usually like lighthearted and stuff. I think Chorsie, I think we talked about this before. We had a conversation about like the evolution of friendships.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of the same thing, you know, with your partner and your friends. Like as you change, those friendships and relationships are going to change, and they should, because you're gonna be a different person when they started.
Again, I don't want no stale bitch.
Exactly.
It just ain't gonna work. Yeah, no, absolutely. Especially because you can't stop yourself from changing, right? The world is gonna fuck you. It's gonna throw some shit at you, and it's going to change your perspective. You can try to be ignorant of it, but things are going to happen outside of your perspective. If nothing else, death is going to be the one thing that's going to affect you, right? And people will try and fight change all they want, but at the end of the day, it's going to happen. So you could either be someone who spends their life on this earth fighting something they have no control over, or you can adapt and move on and move forward and grow and become better. These are your two choices in life, ultimately. Now, there's other things about finances, cars, partners, bullshit. But ultimately, you can either choose to accept the change that's going to happen, or you can try to fight it till you die, and then whatever entity you meet in the afterlife will then have that conversation with you. But why waste your time trying to fight what's going to happen?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's easy to be stagnant, just get caught up in life. Because honestly, the hardest part of breaking out of that is realizing that you're being stagnant. You know, I think like once you can like identify, oh, these are my hiccups and stuff. Because a lot of fear I had like last year with AmeriCorps. Because when I was like, you know, I was teaching, we were still in a pandemic. It's like, I got a theater degree, I'm not using it. And then really lucked into this the PA job because of Zach, and I got back, and then we did our podcast, and then to get back to the arts through this. And it's just like the realizing that I'm being stagnant and not working on myself just changed so much. Because from there, I was like, oh, I'm gonna get back into writing. I'm gonna invest more time in these things. I'm gonna work on making these connections so I can keep getting jobs in the arts. You know, because my biggest fear is like gonna be like moving back to Ohio, which sounds so weird when I stopped it on that. It's just because like that's not where I see the rest of my life.
Yeah, I feel you though.
And because it's like that means at some point I think I gave up a little bit. And it's not to say that there's anything bad with Ohio, which there is, but I'm not gonna get into it right now. It's you know, like my parents say, like, you know, I never want you to be homeless in New York. Like you can always come back and, you know, have a place with us. And it's, I don't know how to nicely say, it's like I'd rather be homeless in New York than in Republic, Ohio. Like,
oh God, I so relate to this though. So
it's really that the fear that got into me about being stagnant and like being forced to go back kind of made me like realize I gotta figure some shit out. And luckily I had a lovely partner who I live with and has no flaws whatsoever. And you know, that gives me the opportunity to be able to stack money after, you know, AmeriCorps as measly as they paid. I made more in a week through COVID PAing than I made every 2 weeks as a fellow lead.
Makes sense.
Which made me so mad.
Sounds about right.
Made me so mad. I'm able to save money for, like, you know, to go on other adventures, you know, and just be more financially secure. So, but yeah, I think it goes back to like that recognizing when you're stuck and in a rut that really kicks in your survival instincts.
Yeah.
Wow.
I feel that.
All right. I am looking at the clock. Then this feels like this is a good natural stopping point.
Me too. I was like, damn, an hour 40. Yo.
I mean, that's what happens though, especially when we have these conversations, man. It's honestly it's too good and it's too important for us just to be like worried about timeline, be like, I need to stop this. No, if like let this naturally happen, because these are the conversations that need to be happening in our society and that should be happening more. And unfortunately, I don't see a lot of it. So I'm determined to create it. So I'm thankful to be able to have this podcast with you, Dakota, and for you, Rojas. Thank you for sharing your story and taking the time to chat with us and being vulnerable with us. I mean, to talk about some of the things we talked about today isn't exactly easy shit, you know, and I appreciate you just being willing just to have these conversations and to be up front and forward and continue to dig and continue to work on being a better person and a better man. I love it, man.
I appreciate that. And I appreciate all of you, like the same thing, like the both of you, like being vulnerable with me, like Drown, like thank you for continuing to being my friend and continue to be like vulnerable with me. Chorsie, like this is the first time we meet, and I'm just trying to match your energy, bro. So I appreciate you too.
Yeah, and this is a great group to get together. That's one of the reasons I wanted you as one of our first guests, because I knew that we could talk about a whole lot, you know, from the very funny to the very serious. So I appreciate it. Just fighting stagnation, moving on up, and remembering that we're still young and mid-20s. We don't have to have all the answers figured out.
I love that.
That too. Yeah. No kids, no marriage. No. I figure out that shit when I'm 40. At this point.
Big facts.
So, all right. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and do the outro. So everyone, thanks so much for checking out this exclusive episode of Keep It 100 with Dakota and Chorsie. If you like what you saw / heard, don't forget the best way to support us is to go on Apple Podcasts and subscribe, rate, give us 5 stars, and let people know. Your word of mouth is the best way to let people know about the show. If you want to support us a little further, you want to give us a little dinero, that green, give me that moolah, that cash. Don't forget, you can sign up on our Patreon page. That's patreon.com/keep it100_pod. $1 a month, bro. We stop stuffing your face with those fucking chicken nuggets, okay? And give us your fucking money. All right. I see you. I know you put your fucking big toe in her booty hole last week. Give us your fucking money. All right. See, both of you retreat back.
That is the standard outro we do every week.
I love it here.
Yep, our listeners are used to that one, word for word. As am I.
For more information, updates about whatever we're doing in our show, don't forget to check out our website. ki100pod.com. So we're gonna have new episodes. We'll do video releases such as this one, all that fun stuff, and also special announcements. Like I said, we're gonna be doing our charity event. I don't know if this episode will be live by the time this happens, but we'll be doing our charity event November 12th. We'll be streaming on Twitch and YouTube, all that fun stuff, to raise funds for a charity of our choice. So check us out on there. Dakota, any other last comments, notes you need?
Everything Chorsie said, and if you forgot the links, they're in the description. So quit being lazy and just click View Artist, and you'll find everything. Thank you all so much for listening, and please give it up again for my good friend Jonathan Rojas for being our first guest.
Yes, thank you, sir.
With Dakota and Chorsie. And with that, cue music.
Thanks so much for listening to another episode of Keep It 100 with Dakota and Chorsie. We want to welcome to the Keep It 100 family our amazing executive producer, Zachary J. Bailey, and our talented audio editor, Evdoxia Ragu.
We would also like to thank our dear friend, Isri Vijay Sundara, for all of her support on our show. Remember to keep it nasty and keep it 100.